To everyone joining us today. My name is Shayla Favor, and I serve as the chair of City Council's Housing Committee, and I'd like to call this hearing to order. The Housing Committee is hosting this meeting to discuss the proposed creation of the Cleveland Avenue, Brookwood, and Southeast CRAs and amendment to the AC Humco CRA. This legislation is scheduled to come before City Council at the July 12th meeting. We will also hear a brief update to City Council regarding the 2019 CRA report. This evening, we will hear from National Church Residences, Wilcox Communities, and JD Group regarding their proposed developments. Prior to those presentations, I will provide the Department of Development with an opportunity to make remarks. Affordable housing is a topic of critical importance in our community, especially as we are learning how to solve these challenges that have been heightened by the pandemic. Housing stability is more important than ever, and our residents in every neighborhood need safe, quality, and affordable options to support their families. Today, we're specifically taking a look at the Community Reinvestment Area, or CRA, as a tool to incentivize residential development and also encourage neighborhood revitalization and stabilization. The residential incentive policy was adopted by City Council in July 2018 and has made significant changes to support affordable mixed-income neighborhoods in the city's post-1994 community reinvestment areas. Neighborhoods have been placed into one of three categories based on the following criteria: population growth, median household income growth, poverty rate, growth in median rent, housing vacancy rate, and mortgage foreclosure rate. As per the ordinance, the current incentive policy is up for review. I'd like to ask Hannah Jones, Deputy Director in the Department of Development, to provide us with an update on the CRA policy review and any additional comments she would like to begin with for the evening. Ms. Jones, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Chair Favor. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. As you mentioned, the legislation before City Council for the creation of these areas represents the final pieces that will be put forward for consideration under the current policy. We will not be considering the creation of any additional abatement areas until the new recommendations and corresponding code changes have been made in the fall of 2021. As you mentioned, we are in the middle of the 3-year review, and it was the goal of the department to submit recommendations for the updated policy by council break of this year. Unfortunately, due to some additional time that we needed to compile the data and do a gap analysis on the cost of construction versus the value of an abatement, we will not be bringing recommendations until after the break. Our internal working group is currently evaluating the data. We are reviewing the indicators to see if they are reflecting the dynamics of a changing market, identifying areas where submarkets have developed and boundary adjustments may need to occur, and evaluating census tracts as the method for creating boundaries. We recently received the final gap analysis and will next transition to evaluating that analysis in order to determine what the final recommendation will be with regard to any adjustment to the AMI levels and percentage of units that are made available to those income levels. The department anticipates holding a series of community meetings with residents and stakeholders in the month of August to discuss the recommendations and gain critical feedback from the community. And we anticipate submitting legislation for council's consideration in September. And I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Deputy Director, for those remarks. So currently, you're in the process of reviewing the incentive policy. Is that just something that is occurring within the Department of Development? Are there other departments that are a part of this process?
So currently, it is various stakeholders within the Department of Development and including City Council. What I would say is the stakeholders within the department touch other core areas that need to inform the policy. So for instance, Kevin Wheeler, who's handling a lot of the zoning code changes, our smart growth policy, focused on transit and the impact that that has is a part of the conversation. Our planning division is also part of the conversation. Erin Prosser, who we'll be introducing shortly as our Assistant Director on Housing Strategies, is also at the table, so that we are not doing it in a vacuum, but involving other people who are related to this housing conversation to be sure that we are refining this tool in a way that makes sense.
And speaking of not working in a vacuum, the City of Columbus is also going through a zoning code update. So can you talk about how you're going to incorporate some of those changes that we have heard from the development community, from residents in the community, that would further support affordable housing development and development just in general for Columbus residents?
So clearly the zoning code update is still very early in its process, in the community engagement process. But Kevin Wheeler, who literally sits across the wall from me, has told me that one of the biggest things that he has received in community feedback is the relationship with abatements, whether perceived or real, and the importance of ensuring that as we adjust the zoning code, that we are cognizant of the impact of the different incentives that we offer. So in a very practical way, I think it's still to be determined, but we recognize that a lot of the development community has talked about the value of incentives in increasing density, offering things like density bonuses, the ability to do ADUs. So really it will probably be layering those tools to get to the outcome that we're looking for of increasing affordability in the community.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that, as I have been very outspoken about the need for not only increasing the amount of units that are affordable within developments, but increasing the level of affordability within those units. That this committee that is reviewing the incentive policy, all things are on the table. All ideas are on the table. We're really looking at taking a new approach to encourage or incentivize development beyond just tax abatements. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely. I think that some of the folks that are here presenting tonight show the range of types of development that benefit from an abatement, and that benefit has different value depending on what's happening. So one of the most critical things about the gap analysis is looking at the value that an abatement alone brings and having us better understand, to your point, how much we can ask for that value, and where it becomes really important to layer other tools in the toolbox, so to speak. So I think the desire of everyone is to see us ask for more. We need to figure out how much more we can ask for. And quite frankly, COVID has made that really complicated. The construction market is starting to stabilize, but one of the key conversations for this group is just, how big can we go in a very uncertain year? And, we want to be recognizing that the market's changing fast. We don't want to lag behind. We also don't want to allow for partners who are doing really good work to not be able to do any work.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. This sounds like a great time to introduce the newest member of your team, Erin Prosser.
Thank you, Chair Faber. I appreciate this opportunity to be part of this discussion tonight. I do see a number of familiar faces, but I do want to introduce myself in my new role. I'm the Assistant Director for Housing Strategies for the City of Columbus. And while we're here tonight to talk about the creation of the CRAs, I think the creation of this position indicates the broad look that the city wants to take at increasing the opportunities for affordable housing in the community. And I really look forward to working with all of you on this important issue as we move forward.
Thank you. And Ms. Prosser, if you can provide your formal title, and I apologize for my lighting. We are still in a hybrid approach with hearings. I am in chambers. The speakers are in their own locations, and we're just navigating the process. You could hear a fire alarm go off. Please don't be alarmed. But with that being said, Ms. Prosser, your official title, and
Yes.
How can folks get in touch with you in the community if they would like to have conversations with you?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's part of the position I'm looking most forward to is getting out in the community and talking to folks. My official title is Assistant Director of Housing Strategies, and I am located with Hannah in the Department of Development. I can put my contact information in the chat, but my email address is ejprosser@columbus.gov. And then I'm a person that hands my cell phone out probably more liberally than I should, but it is 614-949-5428. And I will add that to the chat for folks so that you guys have it.
Thank you, and officially welcome to the City of Columbus working in this capacity. Obviously, this is a position that I felt very strongly that we were in need of from a housing perspective, where we're focusing on housing solely and what policy looks like, taking into consideration our rate of growth, other ideas that we're seeing across the country, those ideas that we could bring here into Columbus that could tackle our crisis, both our housing and our eviction crisis. So definitely happy to have you on board to start getting to work on those issues. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. I would first like to introduce Stephanie Rhodes with National Church Residences to discuss the development associated with the Cleveland Avenue CRA.
Thank you, Chair Favor. And I don't know if I am presenting my presentation or if you have it available, but I'd be happy to share that if I can get that. And as we're kind of getting that up, then I just really wanted to thank Chair Favor, as well as Deputy Director Hannah and Director Stevens, and just welcome Aaron Prosser to the City of Columbus. Looking forward to working with you in the future. So I'm going to pull up my presentation. Okay, well, wonderful. So yes, thank you so much, Chair Favor. I will be talking about the Cleveland Avenue CRA.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, sure.
You want to run your show. We're seeing the display with your notes.
All right, thank you. Let me see. Apologize.
If you click display settings there at the top in the middle.
There we go. All right. I apologize for that. Yes, thank you, Chair Favor. So here's the Cleveland Avenue CRA boundaries here in the Northland neighborhood. And so first, I'd just like to talk about who I am and who National Church Residences is. I'm Stephanie Rhodes. I'm a project leader here at National Church Residences. We are the nation's largest provider of affordable senior housing, but we're also located here in Central Ohio. And that's really, we have a national focus, but we're focused here right in our backyard in Central Ohio. And we are a developer, we're an owner, we're a manager, and we're a service provider. And our mission is really originating from a Christian commitment of service to provide that high quality care services in residential communities for all seniors. You can see here an example of a recent new construction, affordable housing for seniors in Youngstown, Ohio, called Broadway Park. Here's just an example of some of our properties nationwide, but as you can see, we're really focused here in Ohio and Central Ohio. And in Central Ohio, we have a lot of developments under construction, everything from renovations of existing properties to new construction of affordable and market rate properties, with a focus here in the Northland neighborhood. We just opened up the COPC Senior Select Center right in the Northland neighborhood off of Dublin Granville Road. So Bretton Woods is the affordable senior community that we will be opening up in the Northland neighborhood in the proposed Cleveland Avenue CRA. And here's just the location off of Cleveland Avenue and Bretton Woods Drive. Here's just an example of some of our more nearby properties in the Northland neighborhood. Northland Gate might look familiar to some of you, that it's under construction right now, hoping to open by the end of the year. We have Salem Village, 76 units that are coming under construction here soon, as well as some existing properties in the neighborhood. So Bretton Woods will be a new construction, 62 one-bedroom units. All units will be affordable, income and rent restricted through the competitive low-income housing tax credit program, which we received those low-income housing tax credits in 2020.
Ms. Rhodes?
Yes.
I apologize for interrupting you. We are getting a gray box on the screen, so it's hard to see. My team is working to remove that box, I believe. Yep, there we go.
Is that better? Good.
Yes,
okay.
Much better.
Thank you. Yeah. So we received those tax credits in 2020, one of only a handful of communities in Columbus that received those tax credits. And we will be the developer, the long-term owner, manager, and service provider. We'll have on-site management, on-site service coordination, and on-site transportation. A quick timeline, we hope to start construction here late this summer and have a completion in the fall of 2022. We serve in Central Ohio. Our average age of our residents are 72 years old, and the average income is $13,000. And that's what we would anticipate our residents here at Bretton Woods the averages would be. I have my rents here at the bottom of the slide. 52 of the units will be affordable to individuals at or below 60% of the area median income, or approximately $37,000 would be the max income. And then 10 units are those deeply affordable at 30% AMI, or $18,855 max income. 5 of those units at 30% AMI will be dedicated to individuals who are currently in the shelter system as well. And why an abatement? So really, we are able to leverage a wide variety of resources, and the abatement is really an important piece of the puzzle in order to bring all of those resources to the table for construction. We'll save approximately $90,000 a year. That helps us provide those low rents, affordable rents, and then also helps us provide that on-site management and services to those residents. And finally, I just wanted to show a couple of examples of what this property would look like. Here's the entrance at the back of the photo. The site plan here with Cleveland Avenue at the bottom. Bretton Woods Drive borders the north of the site, with the building located along Cleveland Avenue. A view from Cleveland Avenue here, north would be on the left side of the photo to get you a little oriented. We will have some outdoor recreation space for our residents available. We will also have accessible bathrooms, large open concept living, as well as some beautiful community space where we can provide those resources and services to our residents. So I just once again want to thank you, Chair Favor, as well as everyone else on the Housing Committee for the opportunity to present this. Here's the location of Bretton Woods within the CRA, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Rhodes. Ms. Jones, if I could start with just a question for you, because Ms. Rhodes made a statement that this project was one of just a few projects that received LIHTC funding in 2020, I believe. Can you provide us with an explanation of why that is the case? And for our listening audience, LIHTC funding that comes through the state is one of the main avenues for affordable housing development across the country, not just in the state of Ohio. So just wondering, do we have a reason why Columbus did not receive that many awards in 2020?
So I am actually going to kick it over to my resident OFA expert, which is Ms. Rita Parise. I could probably rattle off a little bit closer to 2021, but since this was 2020, I'd rather have her answer than make assumptions that it stayed the same.
Did I get the date incorrect? Was it 2021 or approval?
It was 2020.
Okay.
Yes.
So good afternoon or good evening, however you want to look at it, Councilmember Favor. This was a 2020 award. The 2020 and 2021 QAPs were not vastly different. And frankly, Columbus did not perform well in either year. There were some exceptions. We certainly did better in 2020 than we did in 2021. Some of the big issues, the previous 2 years, the QAP, the Qualified Allocation Plan for Low-Income Housing Tax Credits from OFA, is generally a 2-year plan to try to give some certainty to developers. The previous QAP, the 2018-2019, Columbus did exceptionally well. And frankly, I think we should, because we are a growing community and the need for affordable housing is so extreme. And that is actually pointed out in the OFA annual plan. Part of the challenge, I believe, for OFA in putting the QAP together is the fact that they are trying to establish essentially an objective scoring system, trying to prioritize different things that are important statewide without really knowing exactly what they're going to get and how it's going to turn out. And so a lot of times, you know, you think you're aiming for the middle of the target and you end up, if you're throwing darts like me, on the very outside if you hit the target at all. And so I think a lot of it is because of them really not focusing in enough on what the needs of the community are and making sure that there are safeguards to allow adequate funding to come, particularly to larger communities like Columbus, which is why we are all working very hard right now and awaiting the competitive portion of the QAP just to really dig in and work with OFA to make sure that the needs of our community and the needs of the state relative to our community are being adequately addressed.
You're on mute, council member.
Gosh, I was on mute. Can you talk about what Columbus's approach is going to be to make our applications better in the upcoming years?
So number one, I would say that we are blessed as a community to have some outstanding developers that are based in Columbus, and we even have ones that aren't based in Columbus that do really good work here. So I don't think it is a question of the developers not putting together good applications. I would like to believe that city staff is going the extra mile in terms of working with them to have competitive applications. We take applications for the 9% credit in January. We vet those applications. We share them with our planning division and our economic development division so that we are able to put our best foot forward relative to anything in local plans that would support the projects and anything in terms of investment in the vicinity. A lot of economic development projects tend to be in a lot of these same areas. And so there's a pretty thorough review of what all investments the city is making and what's going on in the surrounding area. So I feel like in terms of a process, we've got a good process, and I would like to believe that our developers feel well supported. I think that our challenge is really making the point, taking the point home with OFA that the needs of this community are important enough that they must be addressed, and making sure, you know, there's a variety of things we can approach. One of the big issues in the prior years was because we did well in 18 and 19, there was a tiebreaker for how many credits you had gotten in the last so many years. Well, if you do well in 2 years, that automatically puts you behind the 8 ball. But the fact of the matter is, if it were somehow weighted based on population or based on need, that might not have happened. So it's really trying to see where they're going to go with this next QAP and then offering comments and suggestions and thoughts on how we move forward.
Thank you, Rita, for that explanation, because I think it's important to provide some foundation as to what what qualifications are being used, what criteria is being used in making these awards in various cities. And the fact that that Columbus is the 14th largest city in the country, right? We have a growing demand for all housing, but specifically affordable housing in Columbus. So I look forward to working in collaboration with you all. And if I can continue to be an advocate or a bullhorn in that space, please definitely let me know how I can assist.
We will be looking for all the support we can get. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And then Ms. Jones, if we could just, what we did not do in the beginning was to outline what the current incentive policy provides and what a developer is required to set aside if they are going to receive an incentive, because I think that will help as we go through each of the presentations.
Yes, absolutely. So for in the ready for revitalization areas, of which this one and the two others that are being created are, there is a requirement of the 10% set aside at 80% AMI and 10% set aside at 100% AMI. And if a developer is not choosing to do that, then we have a required payment to a local CDC in place of that. But as all of these projects will present to you, they are doing that, and in some cases doing more than that. In the market ready area, which is the boundary adjustment, the requirement is 10% of the units at 80 and 10% at 100. But also there is the requirement for the school payments to begin in year 11. So beginning in year 11, they have to pay the schools 15%, in year 12, 30%, and so on and so forth until the abatement burns off. Again, if the developer chose not to put the units into the development, then they would have to make payments on a certain schedule. But as all these projects are showing, they are choosing to put the payments in the units into the project.
Thank you. And last question, Ms. Jones, has there, in the 3-year history of this policy, has there been a buyout?
There has not. We had one recent inquiry about where to address a check and how to do it, but we're still working out which project it is. So officially, no, there has been no buyout. Unless Rita, you know which one it was, but I don't think there have been any.
I don't, but thank you for the explanation. So Ms. Rhodes, just to get back to you and this project with National Church Residences, 52 units will be at 60% of the area median income, and 10% of the units will be at 30% of the area median income. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you also made an acknowledgement about 5 units will be set aside for specifically for folks coming from the shelter.
Yes, that's correct. We worked with the city of Columbus recently, and that was a commitment that we've made with Rita's team to make that set aside.
And what services and amenities are provided for residents in this project?
Yeah, so we will have on-site property management, on-site service coordination, which is a part of our Home for Life model, which a service coordinator provides anything from referrals to local organizations to programming on site. We'll also have on-site development provided transportation to local amenities such as grocery stores, senior centers, as well as our COPC Senior Select Center in the Northland area. And then we also have other amenities on site, such as a community space, laundry, fitness area, and as well as that outdoor recreation space.
And as we've learned through the pandemic, and what it has exposed is, the great digital divide. And so ensuring that our residents are connected now more than ever is critical, right, to survival. Is there Wi-Fi in the property?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that, Chair Favor. We will be providing building-wide Wi-Fi that will be an amenity provided through the rents.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Rhodes, for your presentation this evening.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Brian Wilmers to discuss the project associated with the AC Humpco CRA. Oh, I'm sorry, Brookwood. Did I get that wrong? Mr. Wilmers, are you there?
Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah, I'm here to, I'm in the AC Humpco CRA, yes, and I have a presentation I can share if I can figure this out. Just one moment, please. Let's see. Did that work? Lovely. Well, thank you, Chair Favor, and everyone else for allowing me to present this evening. Again, my name is Brian Wilmers with JDS Companies. We're a Columbus-based real estate development company. We've been in business here for over 30 years, and our focus throughout our history has been primarily on adaptive reuse and urban infill projects. And the project that we're presenting tonight is just that. It is a adaptive reuse of a project that was actually started back in 2017 with a previous development group. And the original plan with the original developer called for 29 luxury apartment units, along with a retail space on the corner of Buttles and Michigan Avenue. And in early 2018, the project just ran into a myriad of just development and construction issues, and has sat dormant since that time. So if you look at the photos at the top of this slide, that shows the project as it sits today. And frankly, if I were to take pictures back in March or April of 2018, you would have seen the exact same thing. So right now there's underground utilities in place, a podium, 2 stair towers, and an elevator shaft erected, but that's it. And that's as it has sat now for a little over 3 years. So our company got involved back in this project after it was already halted, and we worked diligently with all the original stakeholders to try to salvage something out of this under the original plan, and ultimately just failed to do that. Eventually, we ended up taking a deed in lieu from the original developer, and with that, subsequently control of the project. And to be blunt, we inherited a handful. This just shows our location here in relation to downtown Short North and AC Humpco CRA. But due to the uniqueness of this site and the limitations for new construction options, given that the work that was already in place, we just had to be really creative in how we reuse the existing infrastructure, as it was just terribly cost prohibitive to demolish all the work that had already been completed. We like to think of ourselves as a creative group of problem solvers, but frankly, this one tests our mettle. But one of the first conclusions that we came to when we worked to reposition this project was that we didn't feel it was best suited for luxury high-end apartments. We thought instead it would make sense to try to do some workforce housing units, which we felt are just grossly undersupplied in this area, versus luxury market rate, which there seems to be a good supply of. So with that, we worked to increase the unit count, again, under the same footprint, the same infrastructure, but increase the unit count from 29 units to 54 units, again, with a focus on having a workforce component in the project. In addition to that, we got rid of the retail on the ground floor, really more than anything, just to lessen the project's impact to the neighborhood parking. So again, our final plan was 54 units, most recently approved this May by Columbus City Council, and not shortly before that with the Harrison West Society. And as part of our commitment to working on the workforce housing shortage in the area, we've set aside 20% of the units at the 80% AMI level. So I think it's a little bit deeper of a cut than I believe is currently the guidelines under the current code. So with that, COVID slowed us down a lot. We took this over 2018, and with our limited resources, we just it's taken longer than we'd like to get where we're at. But ultimately, we've just been so thrilled with the support we've received from the city as well as the neighborhood. And we're just really excited to hopefully salvage what's been, a blight and an eyesore in an otherwise, great community. So with that, please let me know if you have any questions, and thanks so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Wilmers, for your presentation. Unfortunately, it's kind of cut off to the right, and so I cannot see the breakdown of your the income levels.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so it's and I'm a little technologically challenged here, so I apologize. But what we're proposing to do is 20% of the project, rounding up, so 12 units in total at the 80% AMI level. So did that answer your question, Chair Faber?
It did.
Okay, great.
And is that consideration and level setting once again the current incentive policy? And Ms. Jones, please jump in if I state this incorrectly. It's 10% of the units at 100% AMI, 10% of the units at 80% AMI for this specific category in our incentive policy. Is that correct?
Correct. That's the current. And so they are offering to do the entire 20% at the lower AMI.
Mr. Wilmers, if you could talk a little bit, I know that you said that your team felt as though the workforce, and I think we use these terms a little with more fluidity than I would probably like. And I know our residents don't like it, appreciate it at all. But when we say workforce, we say affordable. But you wanted to focus in on the workforce number because you found that there were not enough in Columbus?
Yeah, well, it just, frankly, it's difficult when you're, these urban infill sites, which, that's, again, what we've done for, I've been with this group for about 18 years. In order to get density, it's just expensive. You have to do things like podiums, and you have to do things like elevators and generators for, backup systems. So it's just really difficult to get the density and still be able to, discount rents in a fashion to supply those units. So we've worked really hard at, we think we've been pretty creative in some designs that we've done in order to accommodate, that target audience. Because we're not a big shop, but historically our stuff that we do in and around downtown, it's very hard to hit these rent levels.
And obviously, we're in great need of all different types of housing options in Columbus, but definitely housing that is focused in on families. But this project appears to be catered more towards, smaller families or a single person.
That's right. And again, part of that was just the drive to density. So the breakdown of our units is, we've got, I think, 10 studio units, 36 one bedrooms, and 8 2-bedroom units. So yes.
And square footage?
So full disclosure, we haven't got, a permanent set of drawings, but our studios, 1 bedrooms range from 500 to 700 feet, and our 2 bedrooms between 800 and 1,100 square feet.
And I'll ask the same question that I asked previously, because I wholeheartedly believe that Wi-Fi, broadband, these are utilities, right? If we were, forced to work through the same technology that we're using today, if students had to use this laptops and such to go to school, this is another utility that we're talking about. So is this building outfitted with Wi-Fi?
It is. That's a great question and a great point. Yes, we're going to have full building Wi-Fi for every tenant as part of their rent.
And transportation, we're on the bus line right there too as well.
Correct. Just around the corner. I think, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but there's one literally just around the corner. Yes. And so we've got bike racks. We've got access to the bus line, and we've also got 40 some odd parking spaces for those who have vehicles.
Thank you. Ms. Jones, this is actually an expansion of a CRA that already exists. Can you give us a little background on why we're here talking about an expansion?
Sure. So as Mr. Wilmers mentioned, this is a project that offers us an opportunity to put additional density in a successful neighborhood, as well as additional units. And it was a site that had been sitting for some time. So we thought that it made sense to adjust the boundary. We are not just doing it for his parcel, so we're taking the boundary to the river and capturing just to standardize the geography a bit more. So again, it was an opportunity that presented itself to put a site back into productive use and bring some increased density. And as you have said, not necessarily truly traditional affordable in the term that we use, but in a more affordable market range for folks in a successful neighborhood that has a lot of amenities already.
Thank you. And I believe that, Mr. Wilmers, you said that you acquired this property in 2018?
Correct. The fall of 2018.
Have there been orders to demolish what had been constructed? Because that's been sitting for quite some time.
Yeah,
That
no, there's no
pre-construction.
orders to demolish it. Right. Yeah, no, to my knowledge, there's no orders to demolish it. No, we, again, we kind of inherited the problem with all of its challenges, or the project, excuse me, with all of its problems and challenges. And we tried to complete it under the original plan. It just wasn't economically viable. So that's, part of the reason we pivoted in this direction that we did.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilmers, for your presentation this evening.
Thank you, Chair Faber, very much for your time.
Next, I will introduce Melanie Wallenberg with National Church Residences to discuss a development associated with Brookwood CRA.
Thank you, Councilwoman Faber and staff, for your hard work on this important legislation and for the Development Department. I'm waiting for the share button to share my screen. There it is. Can everyone see my screen now? And my presentation?
Yep, it looks good.
Great. I'm Melanie Wallenberg, and I head up the mid-market division of National Church Residences. I'll explain what our mid-market product is throughout this presentation. What I'm showing on the screen is the outline of the Brookwood CRA, and our Brookwood Point location is at the southeast corner of Brookwood Avenue and Livingston, East Livingston. I want to emphasize that National Church Residences is a not-for-profit developer, and our mid-market product is in response to serving an underserved population of seniors. It's a senior independent living community. And the three that are on the screen here in green represent three of our communities here in Central Ohio. National Church Residences has already made a commitment to this neighborhood. Brookwood is just adjacent to the 2, 3, 14, and 15, where we have communities existing. They are about a mile east of this proposed community. And we are currently seeking funding for another senior community on East Livingston Avenue. This is a site plan, the existing site plan of the church that has been abandoned, and we will be demolishing and replacing with this beautiful site plan. On the left-hand side, I've shown the Coda bus stop locations there at Brookwood and Livingston, as well as I'm calling out the dedicated park that we are donating to the city of Columbus. It's nearly 1 acre. And we are really excited to be able to provide that amenity. This is the Brookwood building. The small rendering faces Livingston Avenue. You can see in the larger rendering that the entrance faces Brookwood. This CRA, if approved, we will definitely commit to 22 or over 21% of affordable units in this project, which enables us to provide all of our amenities and services to all residents in the building. Some important facts about the project are we are replacing an abandoned church in our upper right-hand corner. We're building 103 senior-friendly apartments. We hope to complete this project in summer of 2023. Our community outreach effort included several meetings with local residents and the Berwick Civic Association, resulting in support from both of those, the residents as well as Berwick Civic Association and the MAC Area Commission. We're also planning 15 full-time employees in this project, which generates, of course, employment opportunities for the community, as well as generating income tax for the city. Our amenities really reflect how good we are at serving seniors, and these are aimed at enhancing the quality of life of our residents and allowing our residents to age in place. We have an extensive amenity package here that you can see on the slide, and we do have laundry inside every unit. Our services that we're including in the rent for all residents, including the affordable units, are a free continental breakfast, full utilities, phone and cable, and free building Wi-Fi, breaking down the digital divide, as Councilwoman Faber earlier mentioned. A little more about our mid-market product. We're targeting those who make too much to qualify for affordable housing, but not nearly enough to be able to afford existing market rate senior housing. This middle market senior class will grow by a whopping 82% by 2029, leaving a severe housing shortage. In addition, the ratio of family caregivers to those needing care is declining, and thus the focus of our mid-market projects is on promoting independence, community, and wellness. With that, I will reiterate our commitment to provide nearly 22%, 22 units and nearly 21% of affordable units in this community. And I thank you for allowing me to present this wonderful Brookwood Point project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you for your presentation this evening. When we're talking about the rents for mid-market, what can a resident expect to pay for a typical unit?
In the non-affordable units, is that what you're referring to?
That's correct.
Yes. Well, first, let me say that all of the finishes in all of the units, affordable and the mid-market, are all the same. All the appliances, countertops, all the finishes are the same. The amenities that we're offering are more than we're able to offer in our affordable product. And the rents, while they're not fully established yet, they will be definitely less than being in an assisted living facility. They're also, according to our market study, significantly lower than the competition in this area.
So what would that, I'm sorry, I don't know what that number would look like.
A rent number?
Mm-hmm.
We have not yet established the rent number. We're still working through final plans for the project, and so I would hesitate to publish them in advance of them being definite.
No, I know, I absolutely understand that. Just more along the lines of you're saying that residents could expect to pay less than an assisted living facility. So just on average, what does that cost look like for residents?
You can be in a middle market unit as low as, including all of the services. And I, again, hesitate to give you a number, Councilwoman, because it may change as we work through all of the design, but definitely under $3,000 a month for the mid-market units, including all of those services.
What do you find our aging population that falls within this mid-market category, what their income level on average is?
Yeah, the income average that we use, we screened for this community starting at $35,000 and going up to about $75,000. Our competition in this area begins, you have to make at least $76,000 to be in a community nearby this one. And there aren't too many communities nearby this one. There's only 2 within 5 miles.
Is there another National Church Residences mid-market project along this corridor or close to it, if my memory serves correct?
No, we have Inniswood, which is on Sunbury Road. We have Walnut Trace, which is not yet open, and Stafford Village, which we're just beginning construction on.
Okay. Ms. Jones, are you familiar with the project that I'm thinking of? Okay.
I am not.
Okay.
Where is it on Livingston?
I don't think it's on Livingston, but I thought it was on located on the Near East Side. I know that it for sure wasn't an affordable project. That it was either the mid-market / market rate type of project, but I could be wrong. I just want to make sure I got all my questions here. So 22 units, 11 of the units at 80% AMI, 11 at 100%. Was there any consideration to try to increase the numbers of units in both categories?
We could certainly take a look at that. I have not done that so far.
Okay, that would be greatly appreciated, just given the fact that if the average income for this community, the aging population is 35,000 to 75, 3,000 a month, still anything less than 3,000 a month, right? That's still a bit of a reach. But I'm excited about the, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Will be less than that number, sorry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I am excited about the amenities, and thank you for including Wi-Fi and all of the upgrades to the project as well. And I guess I also wanted to ask, knowing that this population is growing at this, I think you said 82% between 2014 and 2029. That's a pretty astronomical number.
Yes.
Do you have a lot of mid-market projects planned for the future?
We are rolling them out as quickly as we can. We hope to do all in Central Ohio, 2 to 3 a year. They're complex because of all of the amenities and service offerings. And so I'm actually trying to hire some assistants right now so that we can get as many out and up. We're very committed to this mid-market senior who is running out of options.
And these are separate divisions within National Church Residences, correct? Mid-market and affordable? Okay.
Yeah, they're not divisions necessarily.
Okay.
We're all one company.
Okay.
I just don't know how to say that any better. It's the mid-market section of the company, maybe I should say.
Gotcha. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you looking into increasing the number of units within each category. Once again, we all know that Columbus is growing, and obviously this population is growing itself. And so if we could add a few more units there, knowing that we're in the process of reviewing our incentive policy, that'll be greatly appreciated.
Appreciate the feedback, Councilman Faber.
Thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Wilcox, Trey Giller, and Joe Thomas to discuss the development associated with the Southeast CRA.
Councilmember Faber, how are you doing today?
I am well. Good to see you.
Apologize for a couple things. One, I thought we were in person, so I have a very busy shirt on, so it looks really bad on the screen. I apologize. Two, Joe Thomas is going to be running the presentation for me since I am inept at working the share screen. And three, I'm wide open as always for any questions or comments when it comes to not only the topic at hand, but I also have some anecdotal information I could share with you on some of the LIHTC stuff you asked about earlier.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, great. First, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Trey Giller, President and CEO of Metro Development. Metro Development is a market rate multifamily company in Central Ohio. Over the last 10 to 15 years, we've been credited with building somewhere close to 20,000 units in Central Ohio of a market rate product. The two developments I'm going to be talking about tonight are consistent with what we've built. Just as an idea of what we are today, we've got 4,600 units in the pipeline, either under construction or as these two projects are in the pipeline from a development perspective. We developed, as Councilmember Faber might remember, a year ago, I guess, the Northeast CRA was created. We had a couple projects too that we discussed at that time. Wanted to let you know Woodfield Park is fully constructed. It was 240 units with 24 units at 60% AMI, 24 units at 80% AMI. And as we speak today, 100% of the 80% units are full and 66% of the 60% AMIs are full. And we're still have another 5 to 7% of the market rate units in that project to fill. The other project we discussed was Victoria Manors is under construction. And the reason I'm giving you a little bit of background is because I want to applaud the city for that particular incentive, because not only did it allow me to construct two developments within that CRA, we've also are in the process of building two others. So in the Northeast CRI, we'll have 1,296 units and we committed to, as I committed to Director Stevens, the mayor, Council Faber, and Council President Harden, we consistently do the 60 and 80%, even though it's 80 and 100. We dig a little deeper and go to that 10% at 60 and 10% 80. So in the Northeast CRI, we'll have 131 units of 60% AMI and 131 units of 80% AMI within that CRA that was developed earlier. And the reason I use that, give you a little background with that, is because we're going to go over Brynwood Reserve, which is associated with the Wilcox development. Wilcox Company brought the entire development, but specifically we're going to do the apartment multifamily piece of that, which is Bryn Reserve. So I'll go through the presentation fairly quickly. I'll answer obviously any questions that you have as we go. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on some of the amenities. We're consistent with our amenity package, regardless if it is in a CRA or is in anywhere else in the city. We build to the same level, regardless of where it is in the city, as I think you know from previous conversations we've had. So again, Joe's going to change the page. Again, the Brynwood Reserve will be in the Southeast CRA, which just gives you an idea of what's located in the area and kind of a distance. We're really seeing this area not only with the Southeast CRA, but also with some of our other market rate projects that we have, is really servicing the needs of Rickenbacker and the workforce that is at that location, along with other locations generally around that area. As we've discussed in the past, we're extraordinarily undersupplied on what we consider market rate workforce housing, then with an affordability component topped in the CRA areas. Next slide, Joe. Again, this property is located, it provides access to 270, 71, and 33, ideal for workforce commuting to the city center or in some of the outlying areas. Located along the Coda Best Line, 2 bus stops directly south of the property on Ginger Road, located minutes from Rickenbacker, proposed development be directly benefit from their surrounding population and demographics, which obviously we tend to go into areas that are in need of the workforce market rate. As Councilmember Faber mentioned, everybody throws the terms around. I just like to be clear of what we are. Market rate workforce housing with an affordability component built in the CRAs. Lack of housing diversity in these two particular areas is something that we've seen. We do the affordable housing can reduce, class-based stigma and promote residential engagement, residents engagement throughout the project. Next slide, Joe. This again gives you where the site's located, and then we went to Columbus 1 now. I always say 2020. Can't get that out of my mind. Went to them and just pulled closest local employers, where they are, put them on the map, kind of just show you from a workforce perspective the needs in this particular area throughout the city, quite frankly. But in this particular area, there's quite a bit of workforce that needs housing and needs quality workforce housing as we feel like we bring. Next slide, Joe. I'm just going to breeze through some of this. We could go over it if you have questions, but pretty consistent on what we build. There'll be 10 three-story buildings, 240 units total. We'll have clubhouses, coffee bars, lounges, the amenities that our consumers are looking for in today's market. Our interior finishes, kitchens, living rooms, washer and dryer facilities in the units, detached garages, all the amenities that the consumer is looking for today, whether it's a workforce with an affordability component or it's just a straight workforce housing, kind of develop a market-based development amenities that they're looking for. Next slide, Joe. This will give you just an idea. Gender Road is on the left-hand side of the project. Our project is, as you see, 10 buildings, 3-story pool and clubhouse at the top. Garages located around, and what you see to the north of the project is an outline of the Wilcox project that they're going to be bringing in as well. At the same time, those will be geared more towards an empty nester type product, ranch units, things of that nature, attached garages. So again, it's a nice overall development. And again, we're just the multifamily component, as you see today, is what Brynwood is. Next slide, Joe. Again, at this project, we're going to do 240 units. It'll be 48 affordable units. 10% will be at 60% AMI. 10% will be at 80% MI, as we've committed to in the past for our projects that we do within the city CRAs. Next slide, Joe. This gives you an idea of the number of units that will be set aside. Square footage is obviously we don't build. We build a one-bedroom. It's a one-bedroom. A CRA 60% one-bedroom is no different than any other one-bedroom we built. Same amenities, same everything. We just obviously provide for that 60% AMI tenant from a rental perspective and then a qualification perspective. May answer a question that's probably not on the sheet that you've asked before. Our rents on a one-bedroom range from in the 700s on the 60% AMI up to about 975 on the one-bedroom market rates. In the 900 range for a two-bedroom 60% AMI unit, up to the 1200 for a market rate two-bedroom unit. So it just gives you an idea from a range perspective. And then I think the last slide just shows you some community clubhouse amenities that we'll have. And again, this is consistent with everything we do across our portfolio. So we'll have a 4,500 square foot clubhouse, cyber cafe, movie, sports viewing room, billiards, lounge, fireplace, fitness center, external amenities, pool, sun deck, gas grills throughout the community, patio, outdoor fire pit, walking paths. And one I forgot to add is now every one of our communities has a very delightful dog park. As seems to be the amenity of the day, quite frankly. So that's Brynwood Reserve. And it's really was the catalyst for us approaching from in the Wilcox community, approaching the CRA for this particular area. We have another project, and I'm really going to be brief about this project. It's called Lawndale Commons. And the reason I bring Lawndale up is because it's very similar to the Northeast CRA, Councilmember Favor. We did one, we've then stair-stepped right on top with another project in the same CRA area. So the incentive program for the market rate developer, as you know I am, is that's what's helping us to be able to do that second project of the same quality and just continue to utilize the benefits as the city's laying out in the CRA to bring more workforce housing to the marketplace. Joe, why don't you skip ahead to the slide that just outlines the CRA unit counts. So in this particular project, we'll have, as you see from the breakout, we'll have a total of 34 units. The total community is 336 units. There'll be 64 affordable units. 10% will be at 60 AMI. That's 34 units. 10% will be at 80% AMI. 34 units. So that's how we get to the 64. So again, stair-stepping on top of the good work the city does. We're taking advantage and then bringing additional multifamily workforce housing with the affordability component behind. And I think I'll probably just leave it at that and answer any questions that you might have on either community. And I did want to just drop a quick note for you. You know, one of the reasons that I think when we talk about affordability, and obviously I talk a lot about this, as you know, and everyone points to the LIHTC as an option, and that's going to fix the problem. I think the Natural Church Residency, you know, Bruce from Home Point, the CMHA guys would all tell you there's not enough statewide LIHTC credits to fix the affordability problem and the housing problem across. There's just not. It's very competitive. Columbus competes just like everywhere else, which I think Rita spoke to very well. It competes with everyone else. There's no benefit for being the larger city, the smaller city. It's just, does it score, does it qualify, and do you get those credits? So when we talk about from a housing perspective, when we point to LIHTC, we all agree that that's a huge component and helps really get to where you need to some of those lower AMIs that you want. However, the pool is very shallow of what really you can bring to the table on a year-over-year basis. So I think the CRAs and some of the other incentive that the city is providing is allowing a developer that does a for-profit market rate developer to be able to still bring that affordability component in based on utilizing the CRA or another incentive that's available from the city. And I think if you don't have all your tools in the toolbox working, we're never going to be able to, as a city, really catch up or get ahead of where we are from a housing perspective. So again, I'll leave it at that. Answer any questions that you might have on any one of my projects or anything else specifically you'd like to ask. Share any other information that you'd like to know.
Thank you. So the cyber, if I could just back up really quick, Lawndale, is Lawndale a part of the southeast, or that's tacked on with north?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Will be a second deal in the southeast. So and where Lawndale sits today, it's with Councilmember Tyson, waiting to get on city council it's a rezone, so we're waiting to get on. So we anticipate that'll be maybe before the break, hopefully, and if not, after the break. But that would be a second site that would come on a more immediate basis in the Southeast CRA, should it be approved.
Okay. Yeah, so this is obviously the first time I've heard about, been briefed on the Lawndale one. But let's address the Brunwood project. And the cyber cafe is what is that?
It's so we do a digital cafe where we'll have computers there for the tenants to use if they shouldn't have a computer in their particular unit, for instance. We saw a lot of use of the cyber cafe when we were in the pandemic lockdown for individuals that needed schooling, needed to do things of that nature, didn't have the computer in their unit or, for whatever reason, right? Everybody has their own reasons and didn't have it. But we had that available for use during the pandemic. And we had children come in and use it for, schooling and at all ages. All of our communities obviously have, it's a Wi-Fi is a standard amenity for us. And so they just didn't have the computers, and we have them available to them, printers, computers, and those kind of things.
And just to reiterate, 240 units, 48, which will be affordable, 24 units at 60% area median income, and 24 units at 80% area median income.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Giller. I appreciate your presentation and my team, and I think the department will probably follow up just to get additional information about Lawndale.
Okay, great. No problem. I really appreciate the time. As always, any questions, just let me know.
Thank you. Deputy Director Jones, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make on these projects?
No, I do not. As always, I appreciate your interest and advocacy. Thank you very much.
And I think that you may have addressed this in your comments, but just in case if anyone's just tuning in and has been hearing folks talk about the city's abatement policy being under review, why are we talking about creating 4 new CRAs when we're in the process of revising our incentive policy? And will we see more?
Yeah, so you will not see the creation of any new CRAs anymore for the current policy. As I stated, these are the last ones. Clearly, we have areas of the city that are already abated. And so if you are in an abated area, you are eligible. What we are looking at and why we are reviewing the policy is one of the things that we recognize fundamentally early on is the markets change, and we need to be able to react to changes in the market and adjust the incentives to the best of our ability accordingly as affordability changes, right? When we started this conversation, 80% and 100% made sense. In a year, 2 years now, here we are saying it's really 60 and below. So the idea was that we would set up a periodic review to basically take the pulse of the community, take the pulse of our incentives, and understand where we're at. However, at the same time, developments do need consistency. And so part of this too is why we were bringing these forward to you and recognizing that after this we will have to take a break, is that a lot of these have been conversations that have happened over periods of months and longer periods of time. So with NCR and their LIHTC application, right, it was a conversation of this being assumed that it would be part of the financing. So if we were not to move forward with these, we then start to jeopardize a lot of planning. So what we're trying to do is create a process that allows for us to be somewhat nimble. I recognize that 3 years is not necessarily as nimble as we would all like it to see, but also creates consistency so that the development community can continue to create projects and create units.
Thank you for that. Mr. Wilcox?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, did you have some additional comments to make or?
No, I don't. Thank you. We've been working hand in hand with Metro Development and putting our focus on that first multifamily aspect of our project. So I don't have anything to add unless there's any specific questions for me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And one thing that we have not addressed this evening is, whether or not everyday residents can take advantage of this incentive policy if they fall within these new CRA boundaries that we're creating, or even existing ones right now. Can a resident take advantage of that? Anyone who would like to answer, it's fine.
So there are parameters for residents, and it depends on the level of repair that they do, the rehab that they do to their homes. So I will let Rita get into the specifics.
Good evening again, Councilmember Favor. The parameters for existing residents for rehabilitating their homes is 20% of the current taxable value of the property. So for example, if a property has a value of $50,000, a taxable value of $50,000, then there needs to be a $10,000 worth of improvements made to the property in order for it to qualify. Now, with that being said, I think it's extremely important to remember that if the county auditor goes out to the property to appraise it and determines that the rehab work that has been done does not increase the value, the good news for them is the taxes aren't going up, but the bad news is they're really not getting taking advantage of the abatement. So, we always counsel our existing homeowners, if you're coming close to that 20% threshold, please submit an application, because in the event that the county auditor does increase the value on the property, we want to make sure that you are able to take advantage of the abatement.
And Ms. Jones, is this part of the policy also being looked at, evaluated as well?
Yes, it is. Yes. And I think we're also evaluating single family homes as well, the construction of new single family homes.
Thank you very much. We do have one speaker this evening, and so we'll go ahead and move forward with our public testimony portion of the public hearing. Mr. Joe Motil has joined us in chambers. If you all could just give us a moment, you are our first test subject, Mr. Motil. Welcome back to council.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you, Councilwoman Favor, for the opportunity. I'm speaking solely on the AC Humco CRA expansion. So the proposal is to expand the Harrison West neighborhood and include a part of Victorian Village as a tax abatement district. I mean, really, do you really have no shame? Rather than considering expanding the AC Humco CRA, you should be holding a public hearing about repealing it. As part of the Harrison West neighborhood, and now a part of Victorian Village, there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to consider expanding these boundaries in such an affluent, desirable, and risk-free development area of Columbus. AC Humco is one of only 3 so-called market-ready CRAs, which includes 5th by Northwest and the Short North, and they all need to be revoked. According to the census tracts that I pulled up, it shows an average annual income of the AC Humco current is about $78,000 annual income, and a house and condo is valued at around $306,000. If expanded, it's probably going to be closer to homes valued at around $400,000 and incomes about $120,000. According to the city's housing incentive policy, which is really nothing more than an easy-to-read developer's guide for developers on information where they can receive tax abatements, the AC Humco CRA had been awarded the second highest number of parcels of residential tax abatements at 111 in the city between 2011 and 2015. And really, please spare me the sales pitch of the development community's birthday present from Morpsey and their crystal ball population projections so that they can justify their continuation of high-end housing all over the city. And when you're throwing out numbers about projected population increases and the panic to overdevelop for sheer profit and political favors, let's make certain that the projected increase of 700,000 people and 50 residents per day is for a 15-county region in 30 years. These numbers do not reflect the city of Columbus, whose projected increases from its current population of about 904,000, and it might increase to 1.3 million in 30 years, or about 13,000 per year, which would be higher than its average annual population increase over the last 20 years. So where was all the panic, building to build panic, in the last 15 to 20 years about our population increases then? Only in the last few years has the media, developers, City Hall, and those who are making a killing from it have been beating that drum. And although the 10% set-asides for 80% and 100% AMI are well-intentioned, it still discriminates against Blacks whose average income in Columbus is $37,500, and it isn't really putting a dent into the real affordable housing crisis, of which 54,000 units are needed for those paying 50% or more of their income towards housing. You don't see young white people in their late 20s, 30s, and 40s living in the streets because they can't find an apartment or studio to live in where rents are on average at $1,250 or more. There is a glut of high-end housing in Columbus. It's long overdue that the city mandates set-asides for 60% AMI for all new apartments, regardless of being located in a CRA. If developers want to whine about it, tell them they can go to Indianapolis, Austin, or Nashville, and they can buy off the politicians there to expand their wealth and greed. The city should not create or expand another CRA until you change the criteria for set-asides. Put a $250 million affordable housing bond package on the ballot. Allocate $60 million of the American Rescue Plan Fund and request the Columbus Partnership to match it. And then that would put $120 million into affordable housing. Let's urge the Columbus Partnership to start its own affordable housing trust fund. Lobby Children's Hospital to incorporate a 50 to 100 unit affordable housing apartment as part of their $3.3 billion, 12.6 acre expansion. And let's increase the affordable housing trust fund percentage of the hotel tax from 8.43% to 20%. Does everyone down here have to get permission from someone to initiate change, or are we just going to listen to lobbyists, political leaders, and developers to tell you what to do? We cannot continue to tax abate our way out of this problem. Thank you for the
Thank you, Mr. Motil.
That is the outline of the BC Hump Code, and that does include, it goes up to Neal Avenue where there's $1 million homes. This is really ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. Motil. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me? Thank you, Mr. Motil, for your continued advocacy and your testimony, which is well received this evening. I want to provide an opportunity for our folks with AC Humco expansion to respond, or to Deputy Director Jones to respond.
I understand Mr. Motil's perspective. I would say that this was an already established CRA, and so it is simply a boundary expansion, and it is not including a large number of parcels that I think would cause an increase. I recognize what he's saying about $1 million homes being there, and they are all already there, and so they necessarily would not benefit from the.
A year and a half ago or whatever, I can't recall what it was, but let's say last year. I would say that the creation of that CRA allowed for a developer like myself to come in to the boundaries of that is Stelzer Road and 670. Going towards the eastern area, but still not in that area, allowed us to go in and do close to $150 million of development within that particular area that's underserved. And I think if that CRA would not have necessarily been in place, it wouldn't have allowed us to do that development and then give back at the 60 and 80% levels, which I think I think are needed, and I think in the marketplace, if there's not tools in the toolbox for the for-profit developers, just like the nonprofit developers, the development slows down, doesn't stop, of course, but slows down. So I do think the creation of the CRAs allows for some clarity on spending a large amount of money and investment in a project, and then know where we're going to stand, from that perspective. Versus trying to do patchwork at a spot CRA here, spot CRA is there, but it's a census tract. And then as developers, we could program into, okay, those are areas that the city's looking to grow. We're looking to grow in those areas as well.
I appreciate your feedback, Mr. Giller. We've got some progress that definitely has to be made, some critical conversations that must continue to happen. I have not been shy about how I intend to lead while I am here as a member of Columbus City Council, and as through a lens of equity. And so everything that we do, because we know that there is there's inequities that exist in our community as it relates to not just income, but also housing in Columbus, it necessitates the need to take an approach to legislate through a lens of equity in order to address this problem. So I'm excited about these conversations that are in the process of taking place. There is no one-stop shop approach to curing this crisis in Columbus. If it was, we would have done it already. So, in combination with, now Aaron, Ms. Prosper being on board, our incentive review policy, our zoning code changes, and all of the other additional things that we're doing, the land trust, the Affordable Housing Alliance, all of these other things that are in coordination, I hope that we can begin to make a dent in this crisis. But I want to be clear that this will be the last CRA hearing that I will host as the chair of the Housing Committee until we receive a new incentive policy to begin exploring. Absolutely. Mr. Motil has one additional comment to make.
Commend you, Ms. Giller, for, going over beyond with your 60% AMI. And I also think to me, it's telling as to what could some of the other developers be doing. I mean, and that's why I think the 80 and 100% is really is nothing to, I'm sorry, but it isn't. It's a drop in the bucket. And I think it can be lowered and should be lowered. And I think you've proven that you can do it where your developments are. I mean, up near Easton, I mean, that's pretty nice real estate just down the road from Easton. So you were able to provide 60% AMI, and I think that's a goal we really need to really strive for. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Motil, for your presence and testimony this evening. Any additional comments before we close out? All right. Thank you again to Deputy Director Jones, Aaron Prosser, and the housing team here at the city, as well as our guests that have presented here today. We appreciate your time, as well as the work that has been done to bring this project on board, these projects on board for much needed housing in our community. Additionally, I'd like to thank our team here at City Hall for helping us with our technology and streaming, Angela Burks, Mark Carter, as well as my team, Taisha Harden and Anissa Lieben, as well as the team at CTV. This will now conclude our hearing. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.